What's up, everyone? Thralls Metal here once again. I am Nick, and I have an album review for you. Once again, this one is brought to us courtesy of Screaming Toilet. Again, if you haven't checked it out, it is a cool, fun site full of pop culture reviews on all sorts of stuff like movies, TV shows, music, games, all sorts of stuff. Definitely go check out the site. It's a real cool time. There will be a link below in the description. So today I am reviewing the debut full-length from Reincarnage with their album Reap. This came out on the 24th of January this year, a little while ago, on Apostasy Records. This is the band's debut full-length. They have no EPs, no demos. They just came right out of the gate with a full-length. Now this band features one ex-member of Cut Up, which was a bit of a vomitory spin-off that also featured members of God, Macabre, and Cold Worker. So when I saw that, there was already a natural interest because I love Swedish death metal, and that is exactly what this is. Right away, opening melody kind of has a touch of hypocrisy to it, which is kind of a theme on this. It's not entirely Swedish death metal. Sometimes there are distinctly melodic death metal parts that pop up, but it goes right into a frenzy of bloodbath, entomb, dismember sort of death metal. It is fast, it is furious, it is angrier than hell, and I loved it right out of the gate. I have to say there are touches of death grind here, especially in the faster parts. The real hardcore section of it just kind of comes across as a bit of grindcore in there, and just drives, especially this opening track, home. Hour of Penance actually shows off like a nice triplet chug there that really just drives this song home. Kind of brings in a nice bolt thrower like groove to it, which I'm a sucker for bolt throwers, so that one latched on naturally. Now, towards the middle of the album, you start hearing some of their punk influences come through, especially on BBOB, which stands for Black Baron of Bavaria, and the title track, Reap. Both of these songs are high energy. There are D-beat sections, that fierce down-picking, and just overall attitude, especially BBOB. I'm tired of actually saying that already. Black Baron of Bavaria, we're just going to call it that. That song is high energy as hell, absolutely explosive. Actually, it flat out just detonates as soon as it starts. It is a awesome track, one of my favorite ones on here. Now, Reap also has those really cool punk influences, but towards the end you get sort of a cool double time section, which really brings out a flat out at the gates riff. And I really enjoyed the fact that they kind of brought in elements from Stockholm and elements from Gothenburg and mixed it together pretty well. Now, the album's overall sound in terms of production is a little bit clean for my liking. I think the bass drums sound really too clicky for this style of music. Like, generally when I think of Swedish death metal, like Entombed and Dismember, and even like newer bands that really embody that sound, I kind of like a nice pronounced thud rather than this click. The click kind of sounds more akin to more just sort of modern death metal. It has its place there, but in Swedish death metal, it's all about that grit, and that just sounds a little too clean there. The guitars sound fantastic, and the vocals are actually pretty varied. Generally, it's a straightforward growl, which is really good, but the cadences are nice. They balance them up between slower cadences and faster cadences, and that's a really cool shift in dynamic in terms of just how much energy can be in these songs. Overall, when it came to this album, I really favored the tracks that were just absolutely violent and explosive. By Violence Be Purged was definitely one of those. That one had a fierce death grind sound to it, and I gotta say that death grind sound sounds extra nasty with a Swedish metal guitar tone with that buzzsaw, definitely along the lines of Rotten Sound or Nawsome. It just really gets the energy up. But at the same time, I really enjoyed all the melody, mostly because I wasn't expecting it, and it was executed really well. The closing track on here, The Wound That Will Not Heal, is an instrumental, and it is really pretty. It's more of a Death Doom style. I definitely heard stuff like My Dying Bride or Paradise Lost in there. It's notably slower, and it's really driven by the melody rather than just being bone-crunching and heavier than hell. It's still really heavy, but I thought this was an interesting way to end the album, too. Rather than going out with, a giant, ridiculously heavy closer, they went with something a little bit more somber. The tone had completely changed on this versus, the explosive nature of most of these songs. There's definitely melody all throughout this and some nice mid-tempo chugs and, some fierce melodic death melodies, but this one was very, very centered on just, sort of that mellow death doom sort of mix. Overall, this album is a really solid debut, and I mean, it's pretty ballsy coming out of the gate with a flat-out full-length, no demos, no EPs, just here we are, check it out. And I gotta say, they did a pretty good job. So overall, I'm gonna give this 3.5 stars. This is a solid listen. Again, the production, not necessarily my thing. You know, it's a little too modern for that Swedish death metal sound, and I'm very particular about that. That's one of my favorite styles of death metal because I absolutely love the extra grit in that style. But when it came down to the songwriting, it's a cool balance between all things brutal and then a lot of really cool melody in there, and I like how they incorporate it too. Sometimes the contrast could have been a little too jarring, but I think these guys have the chops, and I'd really like to hear future releases from them for sure. So, if you like the review, give it a thumbs up. If you are new to the channel, subscribe because we do stuff like this all the time. Catch you guys later.